upgrade your shit.
Yo, what up? I'm Coach RT3 from the Upgrade Guys, and if you swing steel maces, then this video is for you. So one of the biggest bangs for your buck with regards to steel mace swinging is your shoulder. Obviously, your shoulder is playing an essential role in the overall movement of swinging a steel mace. So one of the things that you can do, and that every mace swinger should be doing, is focusing on their overall shoulder health. Now, swinging the mace itself is a skill, and I speak about that oftentimes in a lot of things that I write, and if you get my ebook, you can understand a little bit more in depth. But one of the things that I want to say about your shoulder health is that just swinging the tool is not specific enough in order to provide the shoulder health and longevity that you're looking for. So we've got to do more specific things in order to maintain joint health and to keep the joint strong and functioning the way it's supposed to. One of the ways in which we do that is by improving the posterior capsule, so improving the space in which we have for our humerus, which is this bone here, to move around in the joint. And one of the ways we can do that is by improving our capsule in general, so the front of the capsule and the posterior capsule. So all of the tissues and muscles that run into that joint form the capsule, and the tightness of that determines how much space and freedom of movement that you have. So one of the ways in which we target the capsule first is through rotation. And it's either external or internal rotation, and we tend to bias internal rotation in order to stretch the posterior capsule. So we're going to use the sleeper stretch, which is a very popular stretch to utilize for this, but we're not going to just use the sleeper stretch as a standalone stretch and passively sit there. We're going to actually do some work there. So we're going to start in this position here, upright, and then we're just going to take a block or pillow or whatever it is and set it there. You're going to imagine that if you stuck your arm out like so, and if you ended up lying to your side, that you lie in a position where the shoulder would end up right before this, and your head would rest right upon it. So I'm going to just adjust that there. So your legs are out straight, and you can bend the legs if that's more comfortable for you. And you're just going to rest your head here. We're going to start by bringing the elbow, or bringing the back of the arm flat here. We're going to create a 90-degree angle at our elbow joint. From here, we're going to make sure that we do not lift the scapula and back, so we don't want any hiking of the shoulders and closing of that angle between the shoulder and the neck. So we're going to slide this this block down just a little bit, so I have a little bit of feedback as to where my shoulder is at, and if my shoulder starts to hike up into that, it'll push the block. So from here, once you're in this position, you've got the 90-degree angle here at this joint, at the elbow joint, and you're in the setup. We're going to ask you to actively move your shoulder into internal rotation. Actively would be doing this, moving into here. Okay, that's how much active rotation, internal rotation I have. And I'm just going to take my hand and I'm going to place it there. And I'm just going to move a little bit further, gently a little bit further, so I feel a little bit more of a stretch. Now that I feel a stretch, I'm going to hold it there. Now, typically I would hold this for 2 minutes. But for purposes of demonstration today, we're not going to hold it for 2 minutes, and we're going to skip right ahead to the action. So we're going to do what's called a Pales contraction, which is a progressive angular isometric loading, which is going to target the progressive tissue, and that's the tissue that's lengthened. So that's the stretched tissue back here behind you, the posterior capsule. From here, we're going to begin to try and rotate our arm this direction into external rotation, but we're going to slowly start. We're going to imagine that we had a meter from 0 to 100, and we're going to start at 0 amount of emphasis. We're going to sniff some air into our abdomen, drive the feet together. We're going to slowly begin to ramp that up over course of time. So we're going to go from 0 to 10%, 10 to 20%, ramping slowly up over the course of the next 15 seconds or so, up to 30, slowly ramping our way up to 60. Let's ramp ourselves up to 80%, giving it more, ramping up to your greatest, safest effort. And when I count down, you're not going to change position of the body at all. You're just going to try to pull that arm away from your hand into internal rotation. So in 3, 2, 1, we're going to search for more internal rotation, pull, hold that, fight for it. 3, 2, 1, and rest in that new position. Gonna hold that position again for another 2 minutes, and then rinse and repeat that. Okay, that's your internal rotation sleeper stretch, along with pails and rails. So we're not just working on the passive range, we're actually working on strengthening the lengthened tissue and strengthening the shortened tissue. So if you looked at the strength curve, we're actually working in those spaces that get the least amount of attention. So that's important to help you have a nice functional shoulder, a shoulder that has enough space and has the prerequisites to do all the mace swinging that you enjoy.
Upgrade your shit.